A Steam trade offer. You accept your 2 new Counter-Strike skins, and the trade is complete. $500,000 worth of new items. Outside of this market, people would call it insane, but you don't see it that way. You don't have a profile picture or a public inventory, and nobody knows your name. But they don't need to, because what mattered was access. A Karambit case hardened, pattern 387, and the centerpiece, a StatTrak AK-47 case hardened, pattern 661, with 4 Titan hollows applied. You have no intention of using it, or showing it off. This isn't your identity, it's an allocation. A digital object with a global demand, a fixed supply, and the ability to move across borders without friction. This purchase wasn't about breaking records, it was about proving something quietly. Value could just sit there, that money could pass through, and that this market wouldn't ask who you were, or where it came from. This is the story of how China completely dominated the Counter-Strike market after entering it. But the question is, why? It's only been a few hours since the trade went public, and Zippel, the middleman of the trade, posts about it. And the reactions start coming in all at once. 500k for some pixels? Sounds like money laundering to me. For some rusty pixels? MF just casually making history on a Sunday morning. And then there's one comment that sticks out. So, we reached the top now? And it may seem like a joke, but it's a genuine question. Because at that moment, most people were still thinking like Counter-Strike players. They were trying to apply old logic to something that had already shifted underneath them. In the months after the trade, the skin market didn't collapse. It just dipped a little and then kept moving up only. From just over $3 billion to nearly double that within the next couple of years. Not explosively or in a straight line, it moved quietly, like capital finding room to operate. Before the big trade in 2023, Counter-Strike skins already lived in a strange in-between space. They weren't official investments, and they weren't just skins either. They had liquidity, marketplaces, pattern specialists, and basically an entire ecosystem built around valuing these digital items. But no matter the community skins had around them, there was always one uncertain question. Will skins be a thing forever? Before Counter-Strike 2 was ever released, players were already speculating about the next Counter-Strike, from data mining leaks to the Waral slipping up on stream about a potential release during the 10-year anniversary of Global Offensive.
Okay, I want the source update. I'm honestly waiting for the source update in August, so that... Oh, I shouldn't have said that.
But nothing happened. This video is sponsored by Skins Monkey. If you're looking to get new skins or trade in your old ones, Skins Monkey is the place to do that. With my code mattcstwo, you'll get $5 for free on your first trade and a 35% deposit bonus. If you're not into trading, they also have daily, weekly, and monthly giveaways. So whatever skins you want, they probably have it. And with my code mattcstwo, you get a pretty nice discount. Thank you to Skins Monkey for sponsoring the video, but let's find out what happened 6 months after the Waral slipped up. However, 6 months later, that signal changed. Data miners Gabe Follower and Aquarius once again found evidence that maps such as Overpass and Cobblestone were not just being reworked or tweaked, they were being built from scratch. And that's when it became clear something had been happening in the background all along. Nothing was confirmed or announced, but Valve was cooking. Every economy, real or digital, relies on the assumption that tomorrow will still follow the same rules as the day before, and that assumption for Counter-Strike skins didn't yet fully exist. Until Valve announced Counter-Strike 2, and more importantly, Valve said the quiet sentence that changed everything. Your skins from Counter-Strike Global Offensive will carry over to Counter-Strike 2. And this wasn't a marketing stunt, it was a guarantee of persistence within the ecosystem that everybody needed. And this was also the moment that turned your Counter-Strike skins into real assets. That's also when I personally noticed something that felt off, and it wasn't illegal or dramatic, but creators I knew and people with nice inventories suddenly had inventories being valued like real property. Instead of it being valued like a Rolex, it was valued similarly to a one-bedroom apartment. And this was only because the belief system around skins had changed, and that brought in serious money. And it wasn't just the West buying skins this time, it was China, and they were ready to spend. To understand why Chinese capital flooded into Counter-Strike skins, you have to stop looking at the game and start looking at what wasn't available to the Chinese. Because for many young Chinese investors, there simply aren't many places they're allowed to take risks. risks. Domestic stocks are seen as a joke, and crypto is constantly being cracked down on. Then NFTs actually held up for a little bit, but unlike skins, had zero use case and ended up failing, leaving buyers with a bitter taste. So, the result was a large, internet-native, risk-tolerant demographic with money, time, and the need to invest, but their money was just sitting in their bank accounts. Until they noticed Counter-Strike. Skins offered something most alternatives didn't. Digital scarcity that felt real instead of artificial. Real players buying and selling skins every day, and because holding skins was a great way to display wealth, skins were the Chinese new target for their investments. But none of this would have happened the way it did without the $500,000 trade headlining, because where in the West you may have seen the story headline on websites like Dexerto or PC Gamer, in China it headlined far bigger on multiple news websites. It was quite a big shock, someone buying digital game items for 3.5 million yuan, because this price would buy you a high-end apartment in a bigger city. Skins weren't labeled as financial products or securities, they were simple game items, not your typical investments. And that classification mattered, because when something isn't officially treated as an investment, it doesn't trigger the same scrutiny, even if it behaves exactly like a normal investment would. To many Chinese buyers, Counter-Strike skins weren't the NFTs of gaming. They blew NFTs out of the water, and they had history paired with real use case. They lived inside a game that had already survived multiple cycles, scandals, and supposed deaths. This wasn't money chasing the next shiny idea. It was money identifying a system solid enough to hold real value. Early 2023 didn't announce itself. It moved quietly through steady buying. Buyers out of China were not just blindly sweeping the market. They focused onto certain skins like blue gems, legacy sticker crafts, ultra low floats, and more of the popular knives. They were also not buying to quickly flip for a profit. They bought to hold for the long term. And as the market grew, the skin supply grew smaller and smaller, and that's not because the skins were listed less, they were just seen less. Private inventories or privately brokered deals and off-market conversations. That alone creates price pressure, because the perception of scarcity is far more powerful than real scarcity could ever be. By this point, Buff wasn't just a Chinese marketplace, it was the price discovery engine for Counter-Strike. When enough volume concentrates into one place, that becomes the place to go for opportunity. And China didn't just bring buyers, it brought coordination. Private WeChat and QQ groups didn't operate like collectors, they operated like opportunists. They picked a target, completely bought it out, let the global market react, and then sell the items for a way higher market price. For example, let's take a look at this SSG Dragonfire in a field-tested condition. You're probably thinking this skin went up in price because the Chinese bought them all up. And you'd actually be wrong, because when the Chinese buyers entered Counter-Strike, they didn't target the skin. They targeted the Pandora's Box gloves, which only come from two cases, the glove case and the Operation Hydra case, both of which have a fixed supply. So when these gloves doubled in price, the math forced everything underneath them to go up. Money laundering, gray area crypto buying, and hiding money from the government. These are topics often mentioned when talking about the Chinese buying skins in an ever-restrictive market where they can't buy anything but houses that are losing its value. But not every Chinese buyer was laundering money. Not even most. But the system itself definitely made these behaviors possible. A high-value skin can function like a transfer asset. You can buy it locally, transfer it digitally, and sell it in another country to settle the payment in a different currency, or cryptocurrency. This system is not unique to skins. Art, watches, and collectibles like trading cards work this way, which was nothing new to the Chinese. But skins move faster because they aren't even real. But just because this system exists doesn't mean everyone used it maliciously. It just meant that the market didn't ask any questions. By late 2023, rolling into 2024, the inflow was impossible to miss. Prices lifted across the board, and it wasn't just the rare skins, it was everyday normal play skins. And that's a dangerous phase, because when everything rises, curiosity dies. People stop asking why. One belief quietly became the norm. Valve wouldn't interfere. It was never stated, never promised, but almost everyone priced it in. Then, in 2025, Valve dropped an update. They added retakes, a cool fun game mode to get better at the game quickly. They updated a couple maps on the workshop map and fixed some bugs on Inferno. And they added knife trade-ups.
Holy fucking shit.
Knives and gloves flooded the market at rates never seen before. $15 of reds would now be traded up into a $1,000 knife. Billions of dollars vanished overnight and most trading platforms stopped any activity. Private groups went quiet, their members staring at their screens in disbelief. And this wasn't just a panic sell-off. It was a reminder that Valve is the one who writes the rules. Counter-Strike skins are the most successful unregulated digital currency ever. They survived multiple gambling scandals, outlived NFTs, and still bounced back after the massive crash of 2025, but they were never really decentralized. Skins are the coins, and Valve is the central bank. They control supply, rarities, and the price if they want to. And they can change the price without any notice as well. China didn't break the skin market. China treated it the way serious capital treats every loophole, efficiently, aggressively, and without sentiment. The 2025 crash didn't kill skins. It killed the illusion that skins are owned like real property. Because when someone else controls the code behind what you hold, they own the land that you're building on. And the bricks you're building your house with were truly never yours. It wasn't about the money that vanished because of this update. It was about the trust towards Valve for certainty. Because now everyone understands the same thing. Valve does whatever Valve wants to do, and they don't have to tell you why. So the question isn't whether skins will survive, because they probably will, but what happens the next time Valve decides the market has gone too far, because Counter-Strike isn't just a game anymore. It's an experiment, and none of us signed the terms.